Okay, we're rolling.
We have a big fire behind us. There's going to be even bigger fire at 12 o'clock, and we're doing it for a reason. And
to burn the Pope and the tricolours.
Because we hate Catholics, we hate the IRA.
We hate the IRA, we hate Catholics, and we hate the Pope, and we hate the tricolours.
This is Belfast, capital city of Northern Ireland, and long considered the European capital of terrorism. To outsiders, it's a city defined by the centuries-long conflict between Catholics and Protestants, which, reduced to its simplest parts, pits nationalist Catholics demanding unity with the Republic of Ireland against unionist Protestants who want to remain part of the United Kingdom. In 1969, the modern version of the Troubles, as the conflict is locally known, kicked off when British troops were dispatched to Northern Ireland to quell a spike in sectarian violence. It would turn into a 30-year troop deployment, a violent civil war that claimed 3,600 lives. In 1998, after years of killings, bombings, hunger strikes, kneecappings, torture, and terror, the political parties of Northern Ireland and representatives of both Catholic and Protestant paramilitary groups signed the Good Friday Agreement. Weapons were decommissioned, paramilitary prisoners were released, and peace came to Ulster. But it's been a tenuous, brittle peace. We went to Northern Ireland during the height of the marching season, when Unionists bang their drums and celebrate a centuries-old Protestant military victory over a Catholic king. Tensions were high, and we soon discovered, while the war may have ended, the conflict is far from over.
School, believe it or not. One of the first things in secondary school our teacher showed us was the Indian ink and says you're not to use this as for tattoos. Out of a class of 30, 28 of us were taken to hospital to see if the hospital could remove the tattoos. The other two who didn't get tattoos were off, that's why they didn't. So the whole friggin' class.
Our guide to the Catholic side of the conflict was Jerry Foster, a former member of the INLA, a Catholic paramilitary group that's a lot like the better-known IRA, but with more references to socialism and Che Guevara.
I was imprisoned for a no-warning bomb attack at the Unionist Party headquarters, which would have been the biggest pro-British party in Ireland at that time, and their leadership was having a meeting. And myself and another young lad went down and planted a bomb. The intention was to wipe them out, to kill them all. Now, the bomb did go off and did destroy the building, but the British were able to get them out of the building just before. No one was hurt, just before the bomb went off. There was a feeling of disappointment. I know that sounds a bit mad now, looking back at you were disappointed that people weren't killed, but talking about how I felt at that time, I had that naivety that if we got rid of the British, the world would be great.
This guy with Jerry is Alistair Little. Alistair joined the Ulster Volunteer Force, a Protestant paramilitary organization, before he was old enough to drive. He was convicted of murder and spent 13 years in the notorious H-block of the Maze prison. Upon his release, Alistair, repentant for the crimes he committed, teamed up with Jerry, his former enemy, and dedicated himself to peace work between the two communities.
When I was a paramilitary, I didn't care. I would have done anything. I'm on record, and it's been published, where I would have wanted to go onto a bus and take all the Protestants off it and kill everybody on it.
So when you went to jail, it was for doing what? For shooting somebody, right?
Yeah, there was a number of charges, but the main charge was going into the house of a Catholic nationalist guy and shooting him dead.
In Belfast, Protestant and Catholic communities zigzag across the landscape, often abutting each other. If the political murals and flags don't provide enough of a guide to neighborhood divides, the confused visitor can simply follow the peace walls, unsightly physical barriers that 13 years after the Good Friday Agreement still separate communities by religion.
There's more peace walls exist today than there was during the conflict. In the whole of Northern Ireland there's over 80 walls and gates that separate communities.
So the gates are closed because once it starts for young people, then it escalates and gets worse and worse. So it's easier now just to close the gates at night and leave it at that.
And they do close them. Yeah. These are really enormous. I mean, why are they to prevent people from hurling things over, and petrol bombs and things like that?
Yeah, increased the height of that because they were still thrown.
Because of the past hasn't really been dealt with politically, there's still tensions, there's still fears, there's still suspicions.
That's what our work is about, the dealing with the emotional and psychological legacy of the conflict and the mindsets.
What's the kind of mix now between those two communities? What is the level of interaction? Whether it's people dating one another, I mean, kids, do they see the divide the way that you guys did 20 years ago?
In Belfast, in the city centre, there would be more of that now happening among students or through piecework that's been done through community groups. In the housing estate that I grew up in the early years of the conflict, if a girl had been going with a Catholic, they might have been tied to a lamppost and their head shaved or a placard put around.
Has that actually happened?
Yeah.
That's like Nazi Germany shit.
Well, especially in Belfast, I mean,
shaving heads and.
If you'd have got a Republican girl or a nationalist girl going with a soldier,
yeah,
they would have been tarred and feathered. So they would have had tar poured over them.
But let's be clear about this. That's not a metaphorical thing. You mean literally tarred and feathered.
Yeah.
And that's happened.
Yeah.
In a small loyalist enclave nestled between Catholic neighborhoods and the Falls Road, we came across a throng of kids stacking pallets for the evening's pre-July 12th bonfire. Identifying himself as a former UVF prisoner, Alistair negotiated our entry into the area.
It's a commemoration of the Battle of the Boyne in 1690. King William defeating King James. So they would lit beacons all along the way to send a message, so it's just a celebration of that. It's also very symbolic in terms of identity. And as you can see, the flags that they're burning is the flags of the Republic of Ireland, which is seen as the enemy or foreign state.
You guys aren't going to burn that one, are you?
Oh, no way.
You're going to burn that one, right?
We make good one.
Who's this guy?
Mosky. Look, fire starter.
What's on his head?
Penis.
Yeah. Why is he have a penis on his head?
He's a wank dog.
He's a wank dog?
Yeah.
Fuck a pope. Fuck a pope? Fuck a pope? You don't like the pope?
Have you seen the sign CIRA? Here, get down.
Pope's a dick. All right, there we go. For all the Americans out there, what's the celebration? Explain it to us.
I don't know. Bit of fun.
The kids over here are sort of impregnated with all these phrases. When you ask them a little more about them, they don't seem to know what they're talking about. But they do hate the IRA. They hate Fenians. One kid said, don't use Fenian because it's too nice. Call them Tags. And they really, really cannot stand Catholics. And the strange thing about it is on every side that you see here, and even right behind us, are Catholic neighborhoods, and they have a sort of weird siege mentality. They said people throw petrol bombs, people throw rocks into the estate, so I suppose it's a bit understandable.
One of the difficulties a lot of people involved in piecework would encounter, and many don't understand, is they ask young people to do things that they're not prepared to do themselves. If the conflict gives them a sense of importance, if they feel significant as a young person, if they have a sense of belonging with each other because they're involved in something special, if they believe that they're standing up for the community, all of those things end up on such a sense of identity. When you're asking young people to give all that up, there's no adult to give that up.
Militant unionism in Belfast is localized in two communities. The Shankill, a mile-and-a-half road that lies just around the corner from the Catholic Falls Road, and the hyper-British Protestant enclaves of East Belfast. In the 1970s, the Shankill was ground zero for loyalist paramilitaries, famously home to the Shankill Butchers, a bloodthirsty group of killers that targeted random Catholics for torture and execution. And in 1993, the IRA blew up a chip shop on the Shankill, killing 9 Protestants. Today, both the Shankill and East Belfast are relatively peaceful. The locals are friendly and accommodating. But with these monuments and murals celebrating Ulster's contribution to World War I and, more threateningly, various Protestant paramilitaries, it can feel like an earlier, uglier decade. Alistair introduced us to Rab, a very connected and very influential guy in East Belfast, who attempted to explain the palpable anger we were witnessing so many years after the Good Friday Agreement.
Unfortunately, in these interface areas, on both sides of the fence. You know, it hasn't moved on for these people because one stone, one brick is too much. There's no peace process for these people.
When we were talking to Alistair, and he was saying that this kind of stuff is not the kind of laundering of the 12th, but is to make the 12th more of, you know, a family type exercise, more for the kids, more looking towards, you know, the history of Ulster, whereas it's trying to get away from something like this, which is more sectarian and more. What do you think of it?
Well, you know, even down here, if you went back 5 or 6 years ago, you'd have had masked men out and you'd have had shows of strength, right? And you would have had all types of different paramilitaries at these here bonfires having a show of strength. You know, them days is well gone.
For those who aren't from Northern Ireland, tags are Catholics.
Yes.
So kill all Catholics. That seems pretty provocative.
It does, but whenever you go to the backdrop of what's happened here over the last couple of weeks, I mean, you have to remember from the Catholic Church across the road there was actually 3 shots fired. There was actually a newspaper photographer that was shot, and there was 2 individuals from this community who were also shot and wounded. So, you know, that's a sort of direct response to that, I would say. You know, if there was no shots coming from the nationalist community, then people wouldn't be, you know, get back to this sort of rhetoric again of kill all takes.
On the ground in East Belfast, we were a long way from the language of the peace process. Officially, paramilitary activity is an unwanted relic of the past, a danger to the future. But in working-class Protestant and Catholic neighborhoods throughout the city, we heard endless tales of attacks by sectarian enemies and the worthlessness of the police force.
I hold my hand up to them guys, and I don't care what anyone in the short strand says. See, if they have to come out and protect me, then I hold my hands up and say, well done.
I'm still at school. I'm wanting to do my A-levels. I'm wanting to go to university, and I want to make something in my life. But one thing that still matters to me is my community, is my heritage and culture, and I would rather defend my heritage and culture than go to university.
We were quietly told earlier in the day that it would be inadvisable to show up at certain bonfires uninvited, with a camera crew in tow. So we went with Rab to a bonfire in his neighborhood. He cleared the way, and everyone, we soon discovered, listened to Rab.
Good small bonfire, isn't it? We built it. I built it. I didn't do anything. I was throwing things out. We're dancers. We're rocking it!
We call them Teagues, but they call us Huns.
Right. When someone calls you a Hun, how does it make you feel?
Just slobber back to them. Just don't like them. The ratting's funny. It's funny to watch, but it's bad, because it's like destroying everything.
It wrecks wrecks the community and all people's houses.
And I know someone who gets hit in the ankle, and I'm not saying any names.
What did he get hit with?
A plastic.
It was a real bullet. That was a real bullet.
A plastic bullet about that height.
Rab took us into the local community center to listen to the bands warming up for tomorrow's parade and pumping up the crowd with songs celebrating their Britishness. The bonfire organizers seemed to be experienced in the art of Molotov cocktail production, and they generously allowed me, after a bit of pleading, to take part in the burning of this tower of flags, political posters, and symbols of Catholicism. I do want to point out that there's a big canister of petrol right there. Everybody seems to be okay so far, but I'm anticipating a major accident and major burns. But it's all for William of Orange. We're throwing the first petrol bomb of the night. Right? Like it's heaving.
Now you need to let it.
My first Molotov cocktail or petrol bomb experience, I was a bit anticlimactic because it was a kind of a shitty throw, but they lit it while they were explaining how to throw it. It just was on fire. I had to get rid of it. Everywhere we turned, there were gasoline cans just inches from enormous, terrifying fires, kids full of cider falling off of flaming pallets, But it was a friendly, drunken crowd, a happy celebration amongst tribal peers.
Remember 1690, King Billy's on the wall. Now there are slogans painted in red, white and blue.
But this was the night before the July 12th march, a warm-up for the main event. The real action would be tomorrow, the day of Northern Ireland's most contentious parade, when Protestants march and, in a few areas of the city, Catholics try to confront them. And all of this only weeks after another major flare-up of sectarian violence in Belfast.
He stands so high, shines so bright, he lights up the balls. There's millions come to see him, they stand and gaze and all. They remember 1690, King Billy's on the mall.
The Orange Lodge in Belfast, the oldest Protestant fraternal organization in the country, organizes the July 12th parade. Before the start of the march, we stopped by their headquarters, which was teeming with people from all around the Anglosphere.
The 12th of July is to commemorate the 321st anniversary of the Battle of the Boyne. And it is important to people because in the end of the day, the Battle of the Boyne gave everyone throughout the world, shall we say, civil and religious liberty. And sometimes that liberty at the moment is being eroded by different legislation which affects some of our parades.
Explain to those who would be completely baffled by this how a bunch of Canadians come to march in an Orange Parade in Belfast.
My family roots here are 5 generations gone. Like I'm a 5-generation Canadian, but all Orange in Canada. Canada was a big place for the Orange Order as well. We don't say a whole lot when we come here because unfortunately it's not our fight.
But you're not throwing paving stones at people?
No.
Molotov cocktails.
As you know, Canadians, we're probably the most easygoing people around.
Parades have just begun. We're walking down Crumlin Road. As you can see, I am leading the parade. I am leading the prods down Crumlin Road to a flashpoint very close to here. So far, there hasn't been a hitch. There's police presence, very, very, very heavy, and we'll see what happens. To everyone willing to talk to us, the parade was a celebration of Protestant culture. But increasingly, it became apparent that it was also a celebration of that particular Ulster talent for massive alcohol consumption. We're about an hour into this march in Ulster, in the city centre of Belfast. Things, according to Twitter that we're following this on, have passed off fairly peacefully in all the flashpoints. But the atmosphere is a bit strange, it's a bit somber, it's a bit grey, it's a bit dim. We were told last night that Protestants don't like to talk to people from the media, so we've asked a few people to talk to us and tell us what's going on here, and no one wants to. So tonight is when it kicks off, and so we're just waiting to go up to the sort of mixed areas up by Ardoyne, where it was bad last year, and the police presence is going to be pretty heavy, and apparently that's when it's going to get a bit hairy.
Hear the people cry, let the POA go by. We are the parade of honor.
Well, I disagree with the march or the parade being allowed to walk through the district that it does walk through, or the road that it walks on, because of the symbolism that it entails with it. In one case, they would carry a banner to a UVF man who had killed a Catholic. That obviously is about more than just symbolism, that's about rubbing your nose in it.
The loyalist position in that would be that it's a traditional route, it's historical. Obviously I believe that there does need to be dialogue, and I think symbols and flags and songs that are deliberately designed to be provocative, that certainly should be talked about.
Things are getting slightly gnarlier. Packs of kids that we tried to talk to who were drinking bottles of straight vodka and smoking weed on the street got a little friendly with the camera and a bit grabby. I guess. Oh man, you're so cute and playing your drum, and the other kids are drinking straight vodka. Are you? Good boy. God, you're like my kid. That's just sort of inevitable, I guess. So we've been marching for a couple of hours now, and we've passed city center, and I think it's time for us to peel off here and go find some Republicans. So we're gonna get the fuck out of here because things are getting drunker and uglier. What is it when people are going? After the march, we headed up the road to the Catholic area of Ardoyne. But if we were looking for calm, for sobriety and level-headedness, we weren't going to find it there either. On July 12th, the anger is ecumenical.
1 in every 3 people killed during the conflict were killed in this 1 square mile of North Belfast. So it was quite intense, and the emotions around it are still quite high.
While a gaggle of journalists waited up the road, Jerry smuggled us in with the marchers, but they were still hostile to the presence of our cameras. Angry that a portion of the Orange Parade was marching down a road that separated Catholic and Protestant communities, one that they called their road, they demanded that they too be allowed to march. The country's Parades Commission wouldn't allow it, fearful that the two groups would meet on the street and tear each other to pieces. Coming up the top of the road, this was initially where it was going to come out, and it's blocked by the PSNI and a bunch of, it look like 4 or 5 armored things, and if you notice over there, they are fully in riot gear with helmets and shields and all that. When the Orange Order comes by at probably around 8 o'clock, these 2 exits are totally blocked.
Yes, yeah.
So
the people can't get out.
People can't get out.
For the first time ever, members of this community applied to hold a peaceful and dignified parade on the 12th of July. They assert our right to live free from sectarian harassment and not to be treated as second-class citizens. The result being that the Parades Commission has denied us access to part of our community while allowing the sectarian Orange Order to triumphantly march through our area with banners commemorating murderers involved in the killings of our loved ones. We are going nowhere. We live here.
Here we go. Right behind us, about 10 feet, are a lot of policemen. And these people are getting really fucking pissed off now, so. Come up this way.
Said they're getting missiles and stuff ready.
Yeah.
They probably will end up in the shop roofs.
No, we're angry because I'm orange bastard walking up our road.
Starting slow. Water cannons have been going, bottles, rocks. We've seen kids breaking up rocks. And everyone seems to be smoking weed, which is fucking hilarious. Everyone's like getting all mellow and fucking destroying shit. So.
Of the wall. It was a bit worrying when the plastic bullet came whistling past, but
yeah, they're gathering more of the petrol bombs.
We're going to the other side. There's some God knows what's going on, but we're going to go check it out.
The state forces have taken possession up in the rooftops, and what they're trying to do is stop the young ones from getting on their rooftops so they can't attack the parade.
What the fuck did I do, man? I used to write about politics. I didn't actually go into the riots, you know? These fucking guys are coming around the corner. I think they've had enough of this. Here we go. Fucking Christ. In the midst of the chaos, we found Martin Meehan, a former IRA prisoner and a leading dissident Republican who opposes the peace process. Meehan took the opportunity to heap scorn on those Republicans who have entered mainstream politics. It's hypocritical, he says, for them to condemn the violence in Ardoyne.
Absolute hypocrites. How can Jerry Adams or Martin McInnes or Jerry Kelly call on the youth of this area to do this and do that when there are 6 young people from this area who were murdered by British state forces, and the oldest was 15 years old for carrying rifles in the early 70s. I myself was a young person at one time. I was sent out by senior Republicans to engage in the same activity that these young people engaged in tonight, and for one reason and one reason only, and that was to entice British security forces in the Irish area so that the provisional IRA could have gun attacks and bomb attacks upon them, and that's the facts.
We're on the other side, where the police are, where the Protestant neighborhood is, and where the march came by. And you can see the refuse and the debris and the incredibly heavy, almost Iraq-like police presence here. And they're not going to be going anywhere because this thing isn't ending anytime soon. The kids aren't getting tired. And there are petrol bombs. One just went off right there. And fireworks going off. And the police firing plastic bullets. And this is a pretty common occurrence around this time of year. And again, one has to realize we are in Great Britain, and there's fucking war on the street. This just looks like it's going to keep going and going and going until these kids get so tired that they can't throw any more rocks.
To me, I see nothing different here than there was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The same uniforms, same people, same things happening in this community.
Is the camera running at the moment?
And he says he's not a man of violence.
You've been laughing on the other side of your face.
Yeah.
What happened in Ardoyne, for instance, last night, there's a number of underlying reasons. There's not just one reason. Yes, some of it is kids venting steam.
I mean, the reality is it's exciting for young people. They're looking up to people in their community. They want to feel important in their community. They want to be known. There's a huge gap between what's happening on the ground in young people's lives and what's happening at the top politically.
As an uneasy calm returned to Belfast, we talked to some Catholic kids who went to the riots in Ardoyne just as spectators. They helped us decode the local graffiti.
That's kill all Huns. Protestants, basically.
And Huns are Protestants?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know why you call them Huns?
Something about the Germans were called Huns, sort of.
Okay. All right, let's go. There's a bunch of these. You see this all over the place.
Fuck the PSNI. That's fuck the Police Service Northern Ireland.
Yeah,
basically their scum.
Does it seem like anything was accomplished the next day after, for instance, after Ardoyne this year?
No, nothing was accomplished. That's the principle of the thing. They're marching through our areas like we've been doing to Lemons. Yeah. Why do they insist on doing it to us if they know it's going to stir up trouble every single year? They just insist on going up the Ardoyne road.
That's not even our area.
Why do you guys go over there? I mean, you don't live right in that neighborhood. Yeah.
I just went up just to watch it, like, basically.
Yeah. You see,
nothing else to do, so
your
watch it.
Friends going up and all.
If either of you went to your father and said, I want to join a paramilitary organization, specifically continuity, for instance, What would he say?
I don't know. He'd probably say, well, if it's your choice and if it's something you want to do, go ahead. I'll support you. I don't think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to join it. I would have him in one day and I'd be away. Give him a gun.
So you're a liability to the organisation?
Liability to everyone. If I get offered to join it and then they hand me a gun, I just go down the shotgun and shoot as much as I can. I hate the guns.
So if you had a gun, you would go down and shoot as many as you could?
You know that means you get shot at the end of it?
Oh, the water is wide and I can't cross o'er, and neither have I wings to fly. Give me a boat that can carry two, and both shall row, my love.